Hello, this is Dane Rose with Mystical Landscapes. Now, you don't have to watch this full video. You're welcome to just give us a call and we'll give you a free design estimate, and you don't have to become the expert. However, if you're interested in doing a project yourself or want to come into the project knowing a little bit more about your choices and the pros and cons of different decisions, this relatively short video will give you a lot of information that I think you'll find helpful. The first decision that you need to make is whether or not to do a prefab or a custom water feature. Now, the benefits of a prefab, which comes in many different forms, are installation ease. Something like this can be set up in an hour, where something like this might take several weeks or even a month to install on this scale. Something like this will be in the $200 to $2,000 depending on the style and type of prefab system, whereas something like this will be in the $20,000 to $30,000 if it's done over several hundred square feet like this. A nice feature if you're a homeowner and don't have a lot of time is you don't have to deal with contractors on a prefab. They're also relatively low maintenance, and if you're buying them for the sound, you can listen to them in the store, which is definitely a benefit of buying local as opposed to online. On the other hand, it may be nice to just point at a picture, describe what you want to a professional, and just leave them to do the work without having to go out shopping, etc. So one final thing is custom water features like this are able to have fish and plant life, where those are not typically incorporated into a prefab. Assuming you're going with a custom water feature, one of your questions will be whether or not to install a skimmer box. And what this does is, you can see it right here in this picture, is it houses the pump, it houses a filter, and it skims some of the leaves and stuff off. The water comes in right here. And I install all of my custom water features with a skimmer box because it keeps the pump clean and easily accessible. And this fiberglass lid that looks like a little rock, it's right here. It makes it very easy to get at the pump and do any maintenance without getting wet, and it preserves the life of the pump. I also really dislike seeing all these rubber hoses and things that run in and out of a pond that doesn't have a skimmer box. Another choice that you need to make is whether to go with chemically clear or biologically clear water. In this water feature that I installed here, you can see plants, and there are little mosquito fish in there, and so that's one way, and the plants certainly add a nice touch. In this other water feature that I installed, there are 1 to 2 chlorine tablets a month that are simply placed somewhere in the fountain, and it keeps the water clean like this. I don't know exactly what dosages are toxic to animals and birds and fish, but certainly drinking out of a biologically clear water will be better tasting, if not healthier, for any animals or pets. And there's also the fact that you're not putting chlorine out. I feel the chlorine in the water myself when I stick my hands in a pool like this. On the other hand, you do need to be prepared for a bit of algae and the water to be a bit scummy at times in a biological filter system. You've also got a couple of options to go between for your liner. You've got a prefabricated, structure like this, and this is certainly easier to install as a homeowner, whereas something like this is a rubber liner that's custom. And so I'll go through the pros and cons. You've got ease of installation is really, and therefore if you're doing it yourself, lower cost is the one benefit of a liner like this. However, this is not as deep as this, and will, if you have fish, the raccoons will be able to eat your fish. These tend to be small prefabricated filters also, so doesn't tend to be the space to line it with stone as you see here. So it's very rare that I use a prefab liner for that reason. I like the flexibility of putting in a rubber EPDM membrane. You can see how the skimmer box is hidden below here and how that works. It pumps the water around underneath and into what would be a Purifalls type filter, or I usually just build this myself out of rock. And then you have the option, this can be dry stack in here, or it can be mortared. And it depends on whether you want it to be a bit of a wading pool, or if it's purely decorative. Obviously it'll save some time and a little cost if you don't mortar it together. But I recommend a rubber liner under all pond liners, even if you do concrete, because concrete will eventually crack. These are 3 of your switching options for your 3 sources of power on a water feature. You have your submersible lights, which make a big difference in lighting up your feature at night. You've got a UV water cleaner that is optional for keeping algae down, and you also have the pump. And so each of these can be controlled all together or separately with either an indoor switched or house timer, a water or a light sensor combined with a remote, or a clocked timer. And so there's some pros and cons to each of these. The location is one of the most important things that you have to consider. And I say that because water features tend to be one of the highest cost items per square foot to both install and maintain. And so you want to get a lot out of them. It's no good spending 5 times more money per square foot for a water feature that you stick off in the corner and is not viewed, and then doing something cheap near the entrance that you're going out of every day. So entrance areas are great, as well as areas near main frequently used patios, and also areas that can be seen from the main windows, particularly at night. These are all great. Another good place to put a water feature is between you and a sound that you don't want to listen to, such as the highway or noisy neighbors. Water features, you can get pumps, like the pump on the last page was just a 45-watt pump. So you can get low-watt pumps for very small features. This is probably a 1 to 200 watt pump right here. And you can do most water features for between $5 and $50 a month. it's a fairly big water feature that you have the pump running 24 hours a day. That would take $50 a month. If you have it on a timer in a much smaller pump, it's very easy to just spend $10 to $20 a month power bill. Sound is very important, and this gets into how you build the water feature. So here you have a large mass of water going over rock and flowing. Here you have lots of small drips. And so I want to play you the sound of small drips here, which you can just barely hear in the background. Now this is incredibly soothing and relaxing. It's a wonderful, background noise. It's a wonderful place to go in a quiet area, just to enjoy and get in touch with yourself. So that's, small, and you'll get that from dripping lots of little water through moss or from a number of rock locations in a waterfall. And then just to give you a sense of contrast, here is a much larger body of water and much louder. It tends to be more energizing than restful, but that can be great. So it's important to pay attention to sound when you pick your water feature. And finally, water can be absolutely amazing. It can be art. It can, in a piece like this, you're focusing on the motion, the way it can play with stone and light, and it's just really a beautiful thing. I built a water feature for myself outside my bedroom window some years back, and I noticed that I went to some pretty exotic and beautiful travel locations, but I missed my water feature. Another client that I installed a water feature for gets in a little bit of a panic every couple of years when the pump needs to be replaced or something like that, because the water feature helps her sleep, and she can't get to sleep without her water feature. So they are immensely soothing, and so I want to wish you success on your water feature project. I've just showcased a few of the many different styles of water feature that I have installed or can install, and so I hope we can work together.